Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio with Rick Thompson, only on LA Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Rick Thompson. Welcome to Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio. I am not politically correct, nor do I have a filter. My mission is to provide a safe platform for those who are still suffering from various forms of addiction. I'm just a guy who's been there and is willing to listen and offer suggestions to help those in crisis. Welcome to the broadcast. Tonight we have a special guest in the studio, Tom F. During a career highlighted with commendation and awards, he had been the head of a Massachusetts Detective Bureau and K-9 unit and served on an FBI task force and the school committee. He served his community as a coach, as the town D.A.R.E, drug abuse resistant education officer. He spoke to parents and teens about the growing prescription drug problem. I feel very fortunate to have him in the studio because his story is a tragic adventure on how a person can be on top of the world in his profession and then through an operation become a victim of addiction and lose everything. Good evening, Tom, and welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me, Rick. And I mean it sincerely when I say it's my pleasure to be here. It was suggested to me that there may be some interest in having me on the show. I did a little bit of research, a little bit of background on the show, its mission, etc., and I couldn't have been any more pleased with what I had seen. I think it's a very noble thing that you've taken on here, and obviously very necessary too. So I'm humbled to think that there might be some way that I can communicate something that would affect somebody's life in a positive way. So
fantastic.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Hey, man, it's a privilege. It really is. Tom, can we start this off? I want to ask you if you could please share with our audience your story from the beginning, what happened, and how you arrived at the place where you wanted to change your life and get sober.
Okay, that's a big question, so it might take me a little bit of time to answer that.
Go
so
right
bear
ahead.
with me if you would.
Go right ahead. Take your time.
I ask myself that question from time to time, and I remember not too long ago, it was probably just over the summer months, that I traded in this car that I had. And it was an older car. I'd had it for about 12 years. It was a good family vehicle, and it had this sort of funny recorder on the overhead console. And I hadn't used it, I think, for the majority of the time that I had owned the car. And for some reason, when I had gone to trade the car in, I pushed the play button, and I listened to an old recording that was from many years ago. My kids were very small at the time, and I could hear on the recording them laughing and whatnot. And I just stopped for a minute, and I just said, oh, man, there's really no other expression that could adequately or accurately address the way I felt at that time. Just that, oh, man, that exasperation, because way back then at that time, I could never have seen mine winding up where I did most recently. And I often think, how do I explain that? How do you describe the unexpected? And when I have the chance to tell my story, I often fail to find an adequate way to label it. And I often refer to it simply as the story I was never supposed to tell.
Right.
And I remember when my kids were little, I would give them lessons on life to try to prepare them for circumstances and whatnot in life. And so one of those lessons was on stranger danger. And I would begin by asking them, what does a stranger look like? And the kids would always describe something, scary, something that was readily identifiable as having the potential to cause them some kind of harm, a furry monster of some sort. And, the purpose of the lesson was to explain that the stranger is not a boogeyman. The stranger looks normal.
Correct.
And when I think about the drug addict, and I ask, what might a drug addict look like? People may have some preconceived notions of what a drug addict may look like, but, my message is to explain to people that, a drug addict, very much like a stranger, looks normal. You really can't tell the difference. The only difference with the stranger, stranger is simply someone that you don't know, but today, more than likely, the drug addict is someone that you do know.
That's inaccurate.
I believe it's the CDC suggests that 1 out of every 10 people is likely to know someone who's been affected by this disease. That's a pretty profound figure when you think about it.
Yes.
1 out of every 10 people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
And my message, that's a lot of people, right? And so, and my message basically is to tell folks, the addict or the alcoholic is not the guy that lives under the bridge or, roams in an alleyway. There are sons, there are daughters, our parents, our grandparents, and I think one of the reasons why we're seeing such a dramatic increase, really, it does have something to do with young people trying, drugs at a party on a Friday night, but a lot of it today has to do with post-surgical addiction and post-surgical pain management.
That's correct. I've had a lot of people on this show, like yourself, that have gone through that exact nightmare.
Yeah, it's something that it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. According to the CDC, about 1 out of every 5 people that's prescribed an opiate painkiller is likely to become addicted. And here in the United States, we use about 80% of all the opiate painkillers in the entire world. So, throughout the course of my career, I've had a lot of opportunities to speak to different groups under a number of different titles based on my education, my experience, and supposed expertise in